Okay, this time we're going to talk about including and excluding databases from the routine. Now, Minion Backup makes this really easy and it's really flexible. I think you're going to like the functionality we have in here. So, by default, let me get rid of this. Okay, so by default, if you want to include all of the databases, there's a couple ways that you could do that. You could call it with the null, and now this is the fourth position, and you can see down here that that would be the include. I just didn't name it up here. So you can do an include by doing all nulls, and you get all 14 databases on the server. Now, some people like the comfort of being able to see that they're including all of the databases. So we also let you include the keyword all, if that'll make you feel better. And there you go, you get all of the databases. So let's go back to, no, let's stick here now. Okay, so now you can name databases that you want to include. So let's say I want to include the bit database. And mind you, I'm just doing statement only here. Statement only equals 1 right there. So that we're just generating the statements. There we go. So I've got only the bit statement, and there's the statement right there that gets generated. And you notice how this is the master SP. So when you generate the statements, it generates the statements to call backup DB. When you call backup DB with statement only, like it says right here, then it will actually generate the backup statements themselves. Okay, so not only can I include bit, but I could also use wildcard searches. I can say Minion %, and I'll get all of the Minion databases. There we go, got all the Minion databases. Now I can combine the two and say I want all the Minion databases and bit. There we go, there's all the Minion databases, and there's bit on top of them. Functionality for Exclude works the exact same way. So this last bit right here is, or this last parameter right here is exclude. So I'm going to show you here. I've got everything except bit in the list, and I can also exclude all of the minions. Minion %. There we go. So I don't have a single minion in the bunch. And of course I can also do both of them, comma, bit. And I can get them both. There we go. So that one excluded bit as well. Now, that's okay. That's a decent amount of functionality, but it's not very rich. I mean, doing a like search in SQL can only take you so far. So what we've done is we've included some regex functionality, which gives you all the power in the world. So let's take a look at that real quick and how to set it up and how it works. So first, oops, regex only works with the keyword regex in there. Now, this is the include again, right? I've got that right out here. That's the fourth parameter. And when you say regex, it's going to process anything that is in this dbmate regex lookup table. Let me show you that table. That'll be right here. And dbmate regex lookup. Now this is a global table for all of the routines. Minion reindex uses it. Minion checkDB is going to use it. And Minion backup uses it. So you can see here that I've got actions, I've got maintenance types, and I've got the regex expression itself. Now the action is whether or not you want to include or exclude the expression. The maintenance type can either be all, backup, reindex, or checkDB when checkDB gets written. So you can very easily come in here and say, I want to include this in all of the maintenance routines, or I want to exclude these databases from all of the maintenance routines. So that's really handy when you've got devs on a box that are creating these archive databases, or maybe you've got these read-only databases, or you've got these dated versions of a database that aren't in read-only, but they're not being read from. I mean, they're not being written to either, right? So you don't want to necessarily reindex them. You don't want to back them up. You don't want to check DB them, or maybe you do want to back them up, but you don't want to reindex or check DB on them because there's nothing but reads going on, right? So this is a really good way to include or exclude a whole bunch of databases all at once. Now, let's test this out and see what we're going to get. You notice here I've got include. For the backup routine, I've got this really nice string here. Let's go ahead and run it, and then we'll talk about what the string actually means. So I'm going to run this include with a regex, and it takes a few extra seconds. There we go. See, that wasn't too bad. And that gave me this guy right here, Minion 2015-0131. So what this regex does, here I've included it right here, is it validates a date. So what all of this means is I want the word minion followed by a valid date in this format, right? So it'll either be in the period format. Oops, sorry here. So it'll either be in the period format or it'll be in the dash format. And of course, I can add other formats as well if I wanted to, right? So you can see how powerful this is. I mean, regex is definitely an advanced function. But when you get into some of these advanced scenarios, there's no way that a simple like search is going to do the job. So we allow you to do some really, really powerful stuff here and include and exclude databases based off of any regex expression you like. This column, I believe, is a varchar max. So, you can have as big of regex expression as you like, and you can have as many of them as you like too. So I can come in here and I could put in 30 different include regex expressions, and they're all going to be evaluated and added to the mix. So it's not just one, or per database, or one per maintenance type or something. You could have 30 or 300 in here for each maintenance type, and it would evaluate every single one of them and then give you the final list. So the same thing works with exclude. So I can exclude based off of regex as well. Let's go ahead and see what we get with this one. So what I got here, where is it? There we go. So I've got minion dev here and minion dev rest, and here's the expression that we're using. And this is a negative search, so this is a question mark bang dev. So what this says is I want anything that starts with minion but doesn't have dev on the end of it. So if you see here, we've got all of these databases. We've got install test, reindex, and then we've got these guys right here, and none of those guys are included in here. So I'm excluding all of the ones that don't have dev on them, right? So I am getting the dev and the dev restore test, right? So I am getting those. And these are simple examples of things that would be relatively hard to do in a like search. And I've seen some customers doing some pretty incredible things, some pretty long involved regex expressions, and getting exactly what they needed out of these lists. So so this is definitely not for the faint of heart, but the functionality is there if you need it. And the place where I usually see it used is, like I said earlier, where you have these devs who are going to be creating these named databases with dates at the end of them because they want to freeze some of their code, and you just don't want to you don't want that to be part of your routine. You don't want to back those up every day. You don't care. They're only here for a day or for a week or something, and there's no reason why they should be thrown into your backup rotation. So you can use regex to permanently take those out of there. And with the servers table, which is in another video, you'll see how you can very easily control exactly when each one of them gets processed. and you don't need any extra jobs to do it. You could include or exclude 300 databases without any extra jobs, without any extra schedules, as a matter of fact. And you could even change the time of day, the times of day when different databases get included and excluded, or the day of the week when they get included and excluded, and stuff like that. So, you know, this in conjunction with the server table is very powerful. Oh yeah, there's one more thing that I should mention here. Whenever you have an include, a named include, so whether it be regex or whether you put a list of databases in here, the exclude parameter, this one right here, is never processed. The reason for that is if you did process exclusions, let's say that you have this regex in here, for this guy right here that you have excluded, but one of the databases that would be in this expression is one of the ones that's in your include, well, then you could actually never back up that database with Minion reindex, because, I mean, with Minion backup, you certainly can't back it up with Minion reindex, but you would never be able to back it up with Minion backup, because even though you included it, your regex expression excludes it right back out. So you would have to come in here and delete this expression in order for you to be able to back it up. That's not what we wanted. So what we did, what we gave you here is, if you give a hard-coded include, then the exclude is never processed. So the include is always honored. So we assume that if you include a database, regardless of what you normally do, you actually want to back it up this time. So if you've got something in the regex, if you've got a hard-coded value in the regex, then the exclude is never processed. Okay, so there actually is one more way that you can exclude a database from the routine, and it bears mentioning here. You can exclude it from the table itself. So you notice here that I have an exception row here for the bit database. All I have to do is set exclude equal to 1. And now if I have this set for all, then it will definitely be excluded from all of the backups. See, I've got bit right here, and now bit disappears from the full and from the log. If I can get that. There we go. And it'll also be excluded from the diff. I don't have to prove it, right? But if you just want to exclude it from one type, then say logs, then you can just exclude it from logs. You notice it's still not there, but when I do a full, it shows back up again. So you can use this to exclude just certain backup types if you want to exclude them for good, and you just never ever want to back up a database with that type, or that database at all. Now, there are some other exclusions that could happen behind the scenes. For instance, if you're trying to back up, if you're on a mirroring partner, and you're trying to back up the database that is, you know, the read-only mirror partner, Minion backup will exclude that for you automatically. If you're running log backups and you've got a database that doesn't have a full backup already, so it's in pseudo simple mode, Minion backup will exclude that one as well. So there are some exclusions that you can have that have nothing to do with you, and you can't do anything about it, simply because those are rules in SQL and they would fail anyway. Another really good example would be trying to run a diff backup on an AG replica that isn't the primary, on a secondary replica. So, I mean, you can't do that. So, you know, Minion backup will exclude that database from the list because it simply can't be done. It'll error out. So there are a small number of things like that. They're usually HA related, right? Or just flat out having to do with not having a restore base or something like that, right? So, okay, there you go. That is include and exclude, all the way up from basic expressions all the way up to regular expressions, or regex as we call it. And I'll see you in the next video.